Hello, welcome to Frank's School. This would be day 15, Advent day 15. The number was wrong yesterday. Should have been 85, I think, not 86. That doesn't matter too much. The number was wrong. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff as I talk about it to make the board a little less complicated. Other things about yesterday, I posed the question, how else can you be born but in infancy? Well, actually there are Christians who would say you must be born again. There is another way to be born. That's quite a matter of religious contention, at least in the United States, that question, being born again. So, you know, there is an answer to that question for some. How else can you be born? But I noticed that in the one link that I gave you, the one singing in English, they sing, "This child now weak in infancy, our confidence and joy shall be." Now that's fine, I mean, because you're weak in infancy. That would diagram much easier. So I don't know if it's a different translation. I looked, and in this hymnal it says born. But that would be a better, maybe a better translation. Another thing, the diagram had a mistake in it. After the word breaking, I had the line go the whole way through, the bass line, which would indicate predication, subject and predicate. There was a direct object coming after, so there was a mistake. And I wanted to point that out. You see, I take a look at these videos after I put them on. Now, another thing, as I listened to the link, the first one in English, look at the singers' mouths. You can tell they're a good choir, even if you had the sound off, because they open their mouths wide when they sing. I used to tell that to the students in school, that I could be clear at the back of the auditorium and they're giving a show, and I can tell who the good singers are. I just look at their mouths. There could be 80 kids up there, but I can tell who's really singing, because you can't really sing with your mouth shut, and they are good singers, that group right there. And then in the German one, and I really hope you did go to the bother, it's worth it to go to that 34th minute, whatever second, I gave it to you, that other link, to hear that German choir sing it in German. It's a boys' choir, and men. There is a girl there, though. I did a double take. I thought, what's a girl doing there? Well, maybe that's a gender issue. Let's let girls into boys' choirs. I don't know, but in any case, why I mention it is not so much that, but the orchestra plays along with the German choir. Obviously, those singers are good enough. They could have sung it a cappella. Now, in this one, in the English one, that's a cappella, and they're good. In this one, the orchestra gently plays along. That's what Bach would have intended. He would not have gone a cappella. All right, now turning to this one. The angels we have heard on high. It is French. It is French. I suspect it's going to be the only one that's French that I'll give in this Advent calendar of hymns and carols. There are others. There are a few others. Well, there's others. But I just wanted to point that out. It's delightful. It is a very popular carol. It's traditional. I don't think they know who came up with that melody. Now, the melody was arranged by this man, and it gave no date. It was just like that. And the same thing for, I don't know what that means. I could look it up, I guess, but I guess he maybe changed alternate words or something. I don't know. But it's very popular in England, too. I think there are some that even thought it was an English carol. But there was no date for him either. And I went and looked, and I thought, all right, so they were still alive when this red hymnal was printed. And so I said, well, I wonder when that was. And I looked, and it was brought out in 1958. I actually remember. I was 12 years old at that time, I guess. And I remember what a stir that caused, how much resistance there was within the Lutheran church that I attended in New Hampshire at that time. They didn't like the new red book. They wanted their old black one. Well, since then, there's been 2 more hymnals come out, and I'm sort of the same way. I'm sticking to this one. But it was not, at first it was not well accepted. All right, now, Oh, and I have this here because this I think is kind of interesting in a way. Give me a chance to tell you something. It's a French carol, and it comes from a place called Languedoc. Well, that's French actually for language of Oc. In southern France, instead of saying oui, yes, I guess they say Oc, and that is the land of Oc, Languedoc. That's a way of referring to the French of southern France, which is very, very different from the French of Paris. Provençal, I think, is another way to refer to that. So I just thought I'd throw that in. The language of Oc. Now, still more. This hymn is macaronic. Now there's a word you have almost certainly never seen before. Maybe you'll never hear it again. It's macaronic. And that means that is, I don't know what that has to do exactly with macaroni. I'm sure they're related. It's macaronic because it's in more than one language. The first 4 lines are in English, but then the refrain is in Latin. And that happened with other hymns as well, that you would go into a Latin text. It doesn't have to be English and Latin, I think, to be macaronic. It just has to be more than one language is involved. And then it is also melismatic. Melismatic. There are melismas. Now, a melisma is when you sing many notes on one sound, not one syllable per note. Folk music, especially, well, I only know really about English folk music, but English folk music usually has one syllable per note. You don't go into a word and then sing a melisma. But when you sing Gloria, hear all those notes that are sung on that vowel right there. Well, that's called melismatic, and it is it is so critical to Baroque music. If you listen to more of that Christmas oratorio, for example, if you would go back and listen to the very beginning, the first number in the Christmas oratorio, Jauket. Well, it's in German, but it starts with drums. I can't think of what the English translation is, but anyway, you would hear that the choirs immediately go into melismas. Mozart had some unbelievable melismas. All right, now the poem itself. The second verse goes like this: "Come to Bethlehem and see him whose birth the angels sing." Now, I indented right there because I didn't have room. But when you write poetry, you indent until you finish the line. This line fit. But why I put that in there is just because here is, I could give you a test. Do you remember from yesterday? What do you call that when you have to go on to the next line to have it make sense? And when you've got a choir singing, or you're singing and you're singing well, you would not breathe here. It's not come to Bethlehem and see. Because if you do that, well then this isn't a sentence. It's come to Bethlehem and see him whose birth the angels sing. That's called enjambment. That choir, that English choir that I recommended yesterday, boy, they were good singers, you could tell. All right, now the first verse starts like this. Angels we have heard on high. Angels we have heard on high, singing sweetly through the night, and the mountains in reply. Whoops, I got that wrong. And the mountains in reply. Now that's stressing "and," which is not usually done, and also stressing "in," but so echoing their brave delight, and then Gloria is sort of breaks the meter because it goes into that melisma. 4, and it's trochaic, strong weak, strong weak, strong weak, and to get that trochaic you have to stress the "and," but it works in a rhyme scheme A, B, C, B. Sweetly singing. Here we've got, I wonder if you remember what that is from prior teaching. That's called alliteration. Have heard on high. This also would be alliteration. They all start the same way. All right, now let's see. To diagram it, I should be able to do this all in one shot. I'll look down here if I can't remember the text. I'll leave Gloria in excelsis Deo means glory in the highest to God. And we get the two from the fact that the O, Deo, ends with an O. All right, that sentence. Angels we have heard on high. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make the pattern and see if you can fill it in. That's not right. Sorry. I don't know if there's enough there. It's a little hard without putting it there. So anyway, the subject is we. We have heard. We have heard. And what have we heard? Well, where? We've heard it on high. You could argue that this probably goes over here. We've heard angels. Oh, and this should be capitalized, because there's where the sentence starts. Angels we have heard on high. Singing. Present participle. They're singing angels sweetly through night. Well, through the night. And that's not the only thing they've heard. And they heard the mountains. The mountains in reply. I'm writing sloppy because you don't need echoing. The mountains are echoing. Now in this case the present participle has a direct object, echoing delight. They're brave. Now why I pause right there is because I'm saying about there. What's the antecedent for there? Is it the mountains delight? No, I don't think so. It's probably the angels delight, but it still goes there. Let me try it. Angels we have heard on high, singing sweetly through the night, and the mountains, in reply echoing, their brave delight. And then it goes into Gloria. All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow.